Hello athletes, Travis here, coming back to you. We're going to do another little short technique video today in my kind of no budget but very helpful series. Today we're going to be talking about how to sit effectively on the erg, which seems like a very straightforward thing. But there are a surprising number of athletes that I get coming to me through GTS or even before that through my career that have some experience before they find me that don't sit on that erg properly. And if you don't have a proper hip position when you're sitting on that erg or body position, you're definitely never going to be able to get into the most biomechanically efficient position for applying power. And it's also going to put your back in a very vulnerable position and open you up to injury. All right, so we're going to talk about that in this video today. So stay tuned and let's dive in. All right, so the key thing that we're going to focus on here is the position of your pelvis, of that hip bone. Specifically, that it is very important that we want to make sure that the top of your pelvis, all right, so if you grab your hip bone here and push with your fingers back, that pelvis is rotated forward, all right, in what's called an anterior pelvic position, all right, so that you want to be sitting more on your hamstrings, and you do not want to be sitting, if we're here, on your tailbone, all right, so you want to rotate that forward. And for me, the first thing I do anytime I get on a rowing machine is I'll just sit there and I'll wiggle a bit to kind of get into that position, all right, make sure that I'm rotated forward. And a good way to check that is if you just sit here, feet flat on the ground, forearms on your knees, and just get comfortable, that's gonna put your pelvis in the right position, right? That you can't have a posterior pelvic tilt and sit here without a big uncomfortable curve in your back, all right? So if you scoot so that the top of your hamstrings are in contact with that seat, all right, and that you make sure that your tailbone down to maybe about halfway down your butt crack is off the seat, then that's gonna help ensure that you're in a good position, all right? But easiest way, sit here, feet flat, forearms on your knees, and just imagine you're having an extended conversation with somebody that's standing in front of the erg, and maybe, you can sit here for 30 minutes, no problem, completely comfortable, all right? That will help ensure that you're sitting properly on the seat. And then without changing that position, then you want to go ahead and get those feet strapped in, and you're ready to go. And sometimes even when I do this, just to ensure, what I'll do is I'll just kind of grab the seat and kind of bounce on it, all right, and kind of scoot to make sure I'm where I need to be, all right, and also that I am centered on the seat. You would be amazed at how many times that you'll find that you're sitting on that seat and you assume everything feels centered, but if you look down and you can use kind of the seam of your unisuit, if you're using some kind of spandex and it has that center seam, and just line that up with the center of your seat and make sure that you're dead center. And maybe even have a teammate check the back and see if you're centered in the back as well, because we definitely don't want to be centered on the front and off center in the back. All these things are incredibly important because any kind of asymmetry there in the seat is going to cause issues in the stroke as well. So one, pelvis tilted forward, make sure we're centered in the seat, we have a little contact with the top of our hamstrings, we have no contact with our tailbone here, and we can sit very comfortably in this position, all right? If that's not the case, make that adjustment, because if you are sitting in this position, it should be very simple to come to the appropriate catch position, hips back, shins up, body tall and powerful, and push out. Whereas if we are rotated the other way, if we are on our tailbone, it'll be very difficult. So we'll be a lot shorter, so you can see kind of where my hands are when I come to the catch, how far they are away from that rectangle at the front. I also, my heels are coming up an awful lot, even to get into this position, whereas I simply rotate how I'm sitting there, boom. I'm way more comfortable. I've got a little bit more length in my hands, and my heels are a lot flatter, all right? So that I'm not pushing exclusively off of my toes, all right? I can get a good solid connection on the drive through the middle of that foot. And now the next thing I want to talk about in terms of how we're sitting is kind of that posture, and specifically kind of the angle that we should be moving through at the back end. Now, one thing to certainly help you get into a good body angle is simply to row without your feet strapped in. All right, this is a really good drill, though I would consider it a slightly more advanced drill For someone who has maybe at least a month or two of experience, I wouldn't dive right in. And I would say a month or two of coached experience. If you really haven't been coaching, you might want to be a little precarious. If you're trying to row unstrapped for the first time, just have somebody stand behind you, because chances are you're going to push the wrong way and you're just going to keep going. Whereas if you do row properly, you should be able to row just fine without those feet strapped and turn the stroke around. But if you do have those feet strapped in, it allows you to go a lot farther back than you should. All right, that's one of the great things about rowing feet unstrapped, is that you cannot go too far back, because if you do, you're just going to keep going. All right, your feet are going to come off the foot plate and you're going to continue, and you're either going to fall off or you're going to lose contact with that foot stretcher. All right, but if you are rowing strapped and you're not quite ready to dive in to that feet unstrapped, or maybe you're just starting on the erg for the first time, a great way to kind of check that body position is just to have somebody come up behind you and put their hands on the shoulder and put a little bit of weight. All right, about as much weight as you'd say if you had like maybe a toddler on your shoulders. All right, so 30-40 pounds of weight or so, and just have them push down. You want to sit in a strong position. All right, you want to sit where you can hold and resist that kind of 30-40 pounds of weight, both when you have drawn the sternum back and when you've set forward back into that catch position. All right, so if in either of those positions, you should be able to comfortably support weight on your shoulders. If you go too far back and you have somebody push down, if you're just slightly too far back, you're going to feel that core really struggling to resist that weight. If you go way too far back and someone pushes, you're just going to instantly get pushed down. You're not going to be in a position to resist that weight. All right, but if you are in your ideal release position, you're sitting back there, you're not overly stiff. All right, people talk about sitting up on the erg. All right, you definitely don't want to slouch, but you don't want to be rigid as well. All right, you don't want to feel like somebody shoved a 2x4 up your bum. All right, you want to sit comfortably, you want to sit powerfully. All right, and having someone kind of push on your shoulders is a good way to check that. So get in that release position. Think about your weight is over the seat still. It's just kind of toward the back end of that seat. Have someone push down. Feel where you can get, where you can still comfortably resist that kind of pressure. Do the same sitting forward. Have someone push down. Make sure that you are comfortable and strong, and then you can go. All right. And especially with kind of younger or even just less experienced rowers that are really conscientious about their technique, a lot of those people will tend to just get overly stiff. People will say sit up and they're like, oh, you know, they go from here to there, all right, to both the end of the extremes. And you don't want to be that, all right? Comfort is going to be a key term for effective, powerful rowing. You're never going to see an elite athlete rowing in a boat that looks uncomfortable. They look very fluid, very relaxed, very supple, all right? And that's how you want to sit on the erg, all right? You want to sit in a powerful position, which means neither compromised in terms of your posture and not stiff and rigid as well, all right? Because rigid is also very breakable, all right? You're definitely never going to see a boxer in the ring stiff, all right? You know, they're moving, they're ready, they're powerful, they're ready to kind of absorb and dish out power, all right? And that's how you want to be on that seat, all right? So don't sit too far back where you can't hold weight on your shoulders, all right? Making sure you're sitting and your weight supported by your seat and you're strong. That's how far you want to go back at the release. Same thing, sitting forward. And that's it. So that's how we sit effectively on the seat, on the rowing machine, whether it's a Concept 2, whether it's Hydro, whether it's Row Perfect, whatever those are, same principles. Sit for power and comfort and biomechanical efficiency. Because if you are sitting on that machine and you kind of have that posterior pillow, you have a very compromised body position here. And so that when you push, all right, in order to have good technique, when you push, that power needs to be able to very cleanly transfer from your feet through the body, through the arms, to the handle, all right? And if you have a weak transfer mechanism here, because you're in this kind of posterior tilt, and I'm exaggerating, most people aren't this bad, but some are, especially young kids, young boys who haven't fully grown into their body yet, maybe in the position, you're really kind of compromising the back, and every time you push, that power is transferring through that compromised back, and that's where you're gonna have back issues, all right? Good technique means no injury in rowing. If you are getting injured in rowing, look first to that technique. Look next to strengthening your muscles, primarily the balance muscles and not the primary movers, all right? So like your hamstrings are balancing your quads, your core is balancing your back, your biceps are balancing your triceps, etc., all right? So that's it. I hope you guys found this helpful. Put some questions down in the comments below. If there's any other technique things that you would like me to focus on in future videos, throw those down there as well. If you want a little bit more one-on-one help, feel free to hit me up on gtsrowing.com. I do Zoom one-on-one coaching sessions as well as remote coaching if you're looking for a broader, more complete training program. But otherwise, thanks for watching, guys. I hope this helped, and we'll catch you on the next video. Bye.